and I am going to share my screen. Once again, good morning, happy Friday. And I know these are crazy times, and I hope everybody is staying safe and staying healthy. So welcome to another session of um, Azure Power Lunch. And to be honest, I mean, what I have found in these days is like, this is a good distraction to, uh, you know, uh, to kind of stay away from all the news that's coming out. So in any case, topic today is Event Grid Premium tier. I think we covered Event Grid a couple of years. I mean, it's Event Grid is not a new service. It has been there for some time. But today, what we're going to do is we're going to just do a quick recap, few minutes, and then we're going to talk about some of the premium features, what it brings to the table, and what is the future that holds. Quick blurb about myself. And here is Event Grid. So just want to spend a couple of minutes on eventing versus messaging, because a number of time question comes up, what is, I mean, is Event Grid, why we can't use Service Bus, why we have to use Event Grid. So first of all, Event Grid is a service broker for events. Events are lightweight notification, which either represent a time series events or a change in state. It does not have the data which cause the change in state. It is, and the publisher doesn't care how you handle it. Okay, so there is no expectation on the publishers and how you handle it. For example, I always talk about it like your car. As you're driving there, it sends most of the cars, I mean, they send data, telemetry about different measures that are happening in the car, like tire pressure. uh, Most modern cars, they send this data back. um, so that is kind of events. If you lose a few of those events, it doesn't kind of impact the end solution. On the other hand, messages are discrete in a sense that they normally have the data which is kind of cause the message. So for example, a bank transaction, it will have the data like what is the amount of money that is being moved in and out of that transactions, things like that. So that is included in the message, and the expectation from the publisher is that you will handle it in a certain way. So that's a very important point to remember. Um, Second part is that in regards to the so for example, let's going back to the event grid. So this is our event broker. It's a first party service. Event broker is uh, basically a, um, integrated with most of the first party services. um, One more thing, folks. I cannot see the IM screen, so Saj or Malik, if you are there, if you can,
Yep.
repeat the question, or if you can, that would be great. Thank
Yep,
you.
we'll do that. Yeah. So one of the questions is that how is Event Grid different from Event Hub?
Oh yeah. So Event Hub is more of an ingestion mechanism. We have an Event Hub expert here, Saj. So it is more of an event ingestion. On the other hand, Event Grid is more of a service broker where you can send events to it and other people can subscribe to it, and they can do the publish subscribe method, like just like you do it with Service Bus with the topic and subscription. With Event Hub, it is mass ingestion of event. It can store event. Event Grid cannot store. If you don't have, so that's key difference. It's more of a broker, while Event Hub is more of an event ingestion mechanism. Saj, you want to add something?
Yeah, no, I was just sending some of the answers in the chat window itself. It's a streaming platform, so data
Yeah,
telemetry for Event
that's
Hub,
right.
whereas Event Grid is more reactive to events.
That is exactly right. Yes.
So
So
which one
moving.
is sorry, just which one is closer to Kafka now, if you want to compare?
That'd be Event
Event Hub.
Hub.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If you can mute yourself if you're not speaking, that'd be great. There is some background. Thank you. So this is kind of how Event Grid works. I mean, all of the major services have Event Grid built into it. So what happens is, so for example, if you have and I'm just going to switch screen here. So let's say if we go into a storage account, let me just go in here. This one, and I'm going to go into a storage account. Yes, that's the one. And in this storage account, if you see here, this is events. So if you uh, create an event subscription, it will create a topic behind the scene. So basically, it will create an event grid topic behind the scene. This is a system topic. You don't see it in the event grid topics if you search for it. But let's say if I try to delete this subscription, oh, sorry, the resource group, and I'm not going to exactly delete it. I'm just going to say I'm going to delete it. You will see that this is the system subscription that will show up here. So this is basically created inside the system by default. Okay. So with that, just keep in mind that the premium features that we are talking about, they only apply to the custom topic. Okay, so just to clarify, system topics are which are with first party services like storage, like that's one of those. But then you have custom topics. So let's say you have an app that is generating some sort of events. Um, and you want other people to listen and respond or take action based on events, um, that's where you want to use these custom topics. So the way you create a custom topic, let's let's go in here, go to event grid topics. So these are, let me show you the experience. Very simple. It's a name, resource group, and then you can use either the open source schema or you can use event grid schema, one of those. And that's all there is to it. You will create the topic. Please note, at this point, there is no way to create a premium grid topic. So let's quickly go back to the presentation and look what premium topic uh, brings to the picture. So this is in this presentation, I have a few, I mean, you can look at the slides just for the recap. So what premium um tier brings to the picture? What it does is on top of the basic feature is secure connectivity. So now you can connect to an event grid from a VNet without going over a public IP address. So this is one of the kind of customer demand. Most of the enterprise customers who are adopting our services, what they want us to do is make sure that whenever we provide these services, they're able to access those services over private IP from a virtual network, because they don't want to go over um, access these services over public IP. They want these services to be available, over private IP addresses. That's where private link comes into picture. And one of the key feature of Azure Event Grid Premium tier is the private link. So we will talk about private link in a second. This is quick overview of the feature. So basic, you can lock event grid topic to a particular IP address. You can use service tags to do that as well. At the same time, what you can do is um, you can, and that is available for both tiers. But the main thing is you can use private link, which is the VNet integration that it's talking about. Just keep in mind, this private link VNet integration is only for sending events to event grid. Okay. So at this point, I do not see a way where you can consume events from event grid um, um, using a private IP address. And also the availability is in East US, West US 2, and South Central US. This is for preview for this. There are, and by the way, this, and you will see more of the premium tier. It's going to focus towards enterprise customer provide capabilities like VNet integration and things like that. And just keep in mind one thing, that with that this is still in preview. So the other capabilities like reserve capacity, SLA for critical workload, and ability to apply limits on how it handles different events, this is to be announced. So this is kind of um, the first part of the preview. So as this thing goes towards GA, those capabilities will be available. So they just announced it. The only capability, or one of the capabilities that is available, is private link, and the ability to connect to it through private link, and the rest of the capabilities will be made available as this public preview process moves further. Okay. So what is meant with when we say private link for the Event Grid Premium tier? What it means is you have a topic, custom topic that you have created, and you want to send event to it, want to send events to it. You can send it from a virtual network, or you can send it from on-prem if your virtual network is connected to on-prem through a site-to-site VPN or an express route. In that case, this, just keep in mind, private link is transitive. So you create a private link. What happens is you have a private endpoint to that event grid topic in your VNet, and you can access it on-prem. So that opens door to a lot of interesting possibilities. You have application running in your private VNets or on-prem. You want to publish those events to third parties. You can do it using Event Grid. Just keep in mind, when they access these events, they will access it over, over the connect to the Event Grid. They will connect to the public publishing, public subscriber endpoint. So this integration with VNet through private link only is when you are publishing events to the event grid. It's not for the subscriber. So let's see how that goes when subscribers, supports that endpoint as well. Or if they do it, we don't know. But just keep that in mind, that this is only from the publisher's end. Okay. So any questions?
Maybe there's a question on the chat. Is this closely related to event flow?
What is event flow? So I'm not aware if
I could take a shot at this, Naveed, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
So event flow was renamed to Power Automate. So think of it as the grid is just like a feeder, and the Power Automate is the event handler. So basically Power Automate could plug into the grid and consume events.
Good. Thank you. Thank you, Alan. Really appreciate your help.
Sure.
Yeah. So let's quickly go into back to the portal. So as I said, you will go in and you will create a topic here. And once you create a topic, as you can see, there is no, at this point in the UI, there is no way to select it's a premium or a basic. So the topic will be created as basic. What you will have to do is you will have to go in and you will have to change the tier. Here I have already changed the tier. You can, if it's basic, you can go to premium, or if it's premium, you can go to basic. So that's how you will change the tier. One thing that I have noticed is if these things on the left hand side, like networking, that does not appear if you have the basic tier. Once you switch to premium, it takes a few minutes before this networking option appears. I mean, that was just my experience. Maybe there was some UI, or maybe I did not refresh the UI enough, but any case, that's how it happens, so that I did not see um, this UI change for a few minutes. Okay. Next thing is, once you go here, there are two options. One is, do you want to do private endpoint connection, or do you want to allow public network access? You can allow public network access, and you can lock with a certain range that, okay, you know, um, I will allow public network access, but only for a certain IP range. You can do that, okay? A cedar range or a certain IP address, or you can just go with private endpoints only. And that's how the experience look like. You want to create a private endpoint, you click on it. And the thing is, this experience is very similar to when you are creating another private endpoint for any other service. So basically, let's say we call it NZAPLBE, and let's say we are doing it in South Central US. And let's continue to move. And I'm gonna pick a resource, and what I will do is you will pick Event Grid as your resource. So we are continue to move, and let's see, where is the Event Grid? You will pick whatever resource you have, and then you will pick the resource type. So at this point, it does not support private DNS integration. So you will have to create your private DNS yourself. Go ahead. A question. Folks, I think somebody is, okay, I think it's gone. Okay, so, and the next thing is tags. So this is pretty standard stuff. Once you do it, then it's gonna create the private endpoint. I think I have to pick up a different VNet. Let's say I do this, and yes, storage subnet. So it will create the private endpoint. I have already created a private endpoint that I wanna show. This is the private endpoint that I have created. And as you can see, this is the FQDN entry. So I have this private endpoint with this private IP. So what I would like to show you is how I can access it from a VM that is in the same VNet and as well as on-prem, while I'm unable to access this endpoint if I try to access it from, let's say, Cloud Shell. Okay, so let's go in here into Cloud Shell. Let's leave it open. And I would like to introduce you to this app. So what I'm doing is, if you look, just search for Azure Event Grid Viewer. It's a Azure website that you can, it's available on GitHub. You can install it, you can run it. And what it allows you to do is it can work as a webhook. So you can, if you have Event Grid subscription, you can send it to this website and they will show up here. So it gives you basically a visual way to see those kind of events. So what I have done is this is my um, this is my event grid, and this is my subscription that I have created. It's a webhook subscription, and if you see this subscription, you see this website endpoint. So I have created this endpoint. This is my website that's running, and I have created this endpoint. I'm sending events this particular endpoint. So now I have a topic and a subscription created. What I'm going to do is I'm going to simulate sending some messages, and hopefully we will see those messages showing up here in this window. So first of all, let's try it from um, from a VM that is running in the same subnet as that, or in the same VNet where that endpoint is, the private endpoint. And I just want to show you my host file here. Okay, so this is my host file. As you can see, this is the address of the private endpoint, and this is the FQDN. So that's how I'm doing mapping. That's how it knows that if I'm trying to access that particular event grid, that's where it needs to go. This is the address that it needs to access. So let's run this script, and then we will see what happens. So I'm here. I'm gonna let me just do another time, Control C, and come here. Okay, so this kind of sets some variable, and now this is the command. I'm just using an HTTP post to send an event to that event grid address, and let's see what happens. I'm gonna send a few events, and let's go back to our page. As you can see, these events are showing up here. Okay, so this thing is working. We are, since it's inside a VM. So now since I have blocked all access from any place other than uh, you know uh, the private endpoint, so let's see what happens when I try to access it from Cloud Shell. And just keep in mind the Cloud Shell, it's running in the cloud. So I mean, it is running in a public cloud. So it's going to be coming from a public cloud endpoint. So that should not. Let's see what error we get if we try to do this. Okay. So I'm doing the same, setting all the variables. And let me now run this command from here just to show you what happens if you try to access it from an endpoint. As you can see, this is the error. Publishing to by client is rejected due to IP address filtering rule. So basically, it's blocking anything that is not coming from those private endpoints. Okay. Last thing that I want to show you, I have in my lab, I have set up a site-to-site VPN connection, and I have a Linux VM that is running on-prem. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to send. So basically, think of it. This is the just keep in mind the diagram that I have, where I have was sending events from on-prem. They go through the site-to-site VPN connection to the VNet, and from that VNet, they will hit the private endpoint. So once again, this is the same thing. I mean, being private link being transitive. So I'm going to send a few events here. So let's see if, first of all, let me just go in and refresh that page. Okay, give me 1 second. Let me refresh that page. So all these events are gone. And now I come here and send a few events. So now I'm sending those from on-prem. Okay, come on. Let me just. These are the events which are sent from on-prem. As you can see, they are slightly different. It has a number instead of, the number is different. So so this is kind of in the initial incarnation of Azure Event Grid Premium tier. The first capability that they are providing is the private connectivity. Just keep in mind this. To summarize, this private connectivity is only for publishing. It's not for subscribing. As you can see, subscribing is still available over, over public access. Can be accessed publicly. Okay. Of course, you can put restriction on it. I'm just leaving it open, but you can put restriction on it. That's on you. But still, it's available on public endpoint or public FQDN. So this is once again. This is the one of the features which is made available as a part of Event Grid Premium tier. More features as they come in, we will take a look once they are available. We have 2 more minutes, so any questions?
Yeah, I have a question, Naveed.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
What's the use case for this over something like an event hub or some other sort of pub sub mechanism?
Man, I think service bus is for messaging. When we are talking about hundreds or thousands of messages, we are talking about millions or hundreds of millions of events. That's where Event Grid shines. So if you have systems which are generating events and you want to notify entities, okay, that something has happened, that's where you want to use Event Grid.
Okay, so versus like a log analytics workspace, this is more real time and live data.
Basically, log analytics. So let's say you're raising alert from log analytics, okay, and you want 100 parties to know that something has happened, okay. You can send them email, or maybe some people don't like email, they want text. So how you will do it? You may want to send that event to an event grid through a logic app and let people subscribe to those events and then do whatever they want to do.
Okay, so this is more about scale rather than
that's right,
capability.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly. Because that event will have very limited information. It will just have, hey, something happened. And now it's on the event receiver or subscriber to see what he wants to do. Does he need to request more information? Does he need to take some action? So that's why, it's kind of a very loose kind of contract where you are just saying, hey, this is the event, do whatever you want.
Yeah. So I've used Event Grid in the past more for infrastructure or operations type stuff. Your
That's
example
exactly
here
right.
is
Yeah.
Yours here is more of like an application type event where you're showing like a record insert and that sort of thing. Is that meant to marry those things together and make them more useful?
Actually, Event Grid can be used for infrastructure or application or anything. Once again, this is basically it's independent of what application, what type of application or a thing that you are doing. Its goal is you send events and it will publish events, and whoever can subscribe, hundred thousands of subscriber, they can read those events.
Okay.
That's all it is to it. Yeah.
Thank you for the demo.
And I think once again, the benefit of this thing is that now you can publish event from your on-prem services or services which are living in a VNets, and you don't want to go over, over public IPs to access those. You can access you can publish those events over private IP addresses. So that's the main thing. Okay. Any other questions?
I just wanted to praise that event grid viewer that you put on there. I'd used this in the past, and for troubleshooting, it's
Oh man, it's
indispensable.
golden. It's golden.
You have to have it.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know if I could have done this demo without that. So it's not easier to
I
understand.
was using it for blob events, and it really clarified where my problem was. So I can't sing its praises enough.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Absolutely. Any other questions, folks?
Hey, thank you. Thank you for the presentation, Naveed.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining, and looking forward to see everyone next week, next Friday, and hope everybody stays safe, stay healthy, and let's keep this distraction going till this madness lasts. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Naveed. Thanks, team. Happy Friday.